Welcome to the Virtual Spring Meeting 2020, brought to you by the American Bar Association Antitrust Law Section. The Spring Meeting is the section's premier event, a multi-day celebration of learning and camaraderie. The Virtual Spring Meeting brings together the world's leading experts on competition, consumer protection, and privacy law, discussing the most compelling issues of the day. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Antitrust Law Section's inaugural Committee Innovation Awards. First up, I'm delighted to introduce virtually Gabrielle Kohlmeyer and Jody Williams, co-chairs of Women Connected. Applause from all around the world. Congratulations on receiving the inaugural award in your first year as a committee. You guys exemplify the inspirational quotes from your members. Don't wait till you've got all the answers, just get started anyway. So I've enjoyed reading the 10 Things series blog and seeing the feedback on your Gender and Competition Summit. Tell us about your committee's innovations in this past year. What are you most proud of? And what have you got in store for us this year?
Thank you, Fiona. We are obviously thrilled to get this inaugural Innovation Award. And we do feel like our members are somewhat prescient because I think if nothing else, the current situation really highlights that no one knows everything or what to expect going forward. And so we just have to make the best of it and move ahead. And that's what we've been doing. And we've been really focusing in this period of not knowing in particular on what is it that our members really want? How can we be helpful to our members and how can we keep innovating to serve the needs in this uncertain time? And Jody, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the things that we've been doing.
Sure. So you asked what are we most proud of, and I have to say, I'm most proud not of any one particular innovation or thing that we've done over the last year or are doing. What I'm really most proud of is the sense of community we've managed to create among our members. I really feel like I am more connected to a lot of the women in this section, and I hope what that's helped with is that people feel more comfortable to approach somebody new or different that they may not have spoken to when we are all together in a room, because we have this sense of community and this sense of bond together. But to answer what Gabrielle was just saying, what are we doing? We've got the 10 Things series. We are continuing to do our member spotlights, and we'll have one coming out in May. We've started, while we're all locked down on quarantine, we started Peloton rides every Monday. So join us, look for that post. Everybody's welcome. We have a member pick a ride every week, and we all hop on the bike on first thing Monday morning and high five each other along the way. We are hopefully going to continue to have our annual celebrations as long as we're all allowed to gather. And we're going to continue to find different ways to connect our members to each other and to this section. Gavin, anything to add?
Yeah, I so agree, Jody, that I think it really is about community. And I think one of the things that has been especially exciting throughout the year is that it's not just women, but we're getting so many men that are also eager to support and applaud and highlight women. And that is growing our community even more.
That's wonderful to hear. Anything that you're working on currently in this time of crisis that other committees might think about adopting?
So one thing we've kicked around, especially during spring meeting and the virtual spring meeting, is having a virtual viewing party. Hopefully everyone here, by the time you see this, you have had an opportunity to join one of the virtual receptions through the remote platform, which is really awesome. And so we're exploring ways to use that to host viewing parties, which will allow people to get together, enjoy their favorite spring meeting panel together, and also have that recreate the sense of sitting next to someone in a conference room and chit chat, even though you're not supposed to be chit chatting. We all do it anyway. So looking for different ways to recreate some of the in-person connections that we have.
That's great. And I'm really relieved to know that the viewing party doesn't mean looking at my house, because that would require a bit of a spring clean. Thanks to both of you, and hope to see you live soon. Creighton Macy and Kim Scott, co-chairs of the Trade, Sports and Professional Associations Committee, congratulations on being the second committee to win our inaugural Innovation Award. Now, your committee is a long-standing committee. It's got a large membership. It's been thriving. It would be easy for you guys to look inward and focus on the bountiful membership you already have. But one of the reasons you won the award this year is you went outside your comfort zone and you've taken TSPA to new audiences and associations. Tell us about this journey and what guidance can you give other committees to help them reach new islands of potential members?
Yeah, well, thank you, Fiona, so much. And as Kim and I were talking yesterday, one of the things that we, the silver lining after going after the Women's.Connected initiative is it's so incredible and it pumps us both up so much at the amazing things that Jody and Gabrielle and others are doing, as well as our other colleagues on the session today. One thing that Kim and I have been co-chairs or vice chairs together for about 5 or 6 years so far. And so one thing that we have constantly talked about for TSPA, and Kim, I want to send it to you, is inclusion and opportunity. And we have a wonderful committee of folks that talk about all kinds of different things and have their core competencies. But we also have folks that are really interested in things like sports and antitrust, or just sports and other areas of law. So one thing we've really focused on is developing partnerships and relationships with other non-antitrust law sections and other areas, and how after we've developed those partnerships, and an example of that is co-sponsoring a program with the Entertainment and Sports Law Forum, the equivalent of our spring meeting, but for sports and entertainment. After we've developed those relationships, then we have worked towards, okay, we've got a larger base of folks that are really interested. How do we give those folks opportunities to get involved in our section and to really, really prosper and to do as much as possible so that we're expanding our base? So Kim, I was gonna pass it to you because to talk about some of those opportunities that we have really focused on with younger attorneys, having as diverse a population of participants in programs and developing content, because we've really seen that as something that's really been beneficial to see a diverse new kind of member and what they've been doing.
So I think one of the things that we have been really good about in our committee is trying not to focus as much on the antitrust part of it. I mean, it's core to what we're doing, but it's also to bring in what I would consider to be, you know, the non-antitrust expert type of attorney. The types of attorneys that have an interest in antitrust, the types of attorneys that may dabble in it, the types of attorneys that want to know what it's about. We offer a platform for them to come in and experiment, check it out, determine how much of it they really want to utilize and how much may not be useful to them. But this is an opportunity to expose them to antitrust law from an angle that I think touches people's lives in many different ways. Like sports law, many people love sports law, sports. So let's see how it intersects with antitrust. Associations, many attorneys have connections with associations. So this committee is very accessible to others who don't have a strong antitrust background. And so we build on that by reaching out to other non-antitrust associations and non-ABA groups, such as what Creighton had mentioned is the Forum on Sports and Entertainment Law and Aviation Law. We try to reach out to trade associations and show them what the value is of this committee. But we also have a very open to using this platform to expand beyond just sports and antitrust law or associations and antitrust law. And if you have an idea, we can make an argument that it fits within this realm, we will go with it and let you take it. And so there's a lot of initiatives that are coming up from the volunteers, not simply from our committee members, which adds some vibrancy to the topics that we talk about. Creighton, why don't you, one of the series that we do is the Careers in Sports and Trade Associations, which has been going on now for, what, 3 or 4 years? And we do pull in a lot of attorneys that are not strictly antitrust attorneys to talk about their experiences in those fields. Can you give me some examples of some of those panelists that we've had in the past?
Yeah, Kim, it's a great question and something I know that we've talked about and seen a lot of wonderful results from. One thing, what Kim was saying is on the career program, we try to do two things. One is have as diverse a population of panelists, whether you're an in-house trade association, general counsel, where antitrust is only a piece of it, or whether you're a sports lawyer who's more of a sports litigator that has antitrust as a specific piece of that. And two, for our members, the members that Kim was talking about who are really interested in antitrust but don't have as big of a background in it, we offer these programs because they find it very helpful to say, oh, I might want to be a litigator, an antitrust litigator. How do I dabble or become an antitrust sports litigator like my co-chair, Kim Scott? And also one thing that I think really helps us there and helps us in all these areas is we've been very fortunate to have a wonderful team of vice chairs who really have a diverse experience, whether they're plaintiff, whether win the government, and also in terms of their practice areas. So I think those are the type of things we try to draw people in with and teach them or show them, you know, these are the different opportunities you could potentially have, and these are what people are doing.
Thank you both.
One thing I would say is that we're trying to make this committee not feel so isolated within the realm of the antitrust world, but trying to show that antitrust has a broader reach than just us antitrust attorneys. And hopefully we're succeeding on that.
You're doing fabulously, and congratulations again. Now it's over to Dion Woods-Bell and Phyllis Marcus, co-chairs of Privacy and Information Security. Chris, congratulations, Dion and Phyllis. Your Young Lawyer membership initiative is really impressive. One thing I've learned working with younger lawyers is you just can't use the old tools of engagement that we grew up with to engage younger lawyers. You have to have a new way of communicating, new ways of demonstrating value. Tell us about the innovations you've developed to engage with younger lawyers and demonstrate the value of being part of press and the antitrust law section.
Hi, Fiona. Thank you so much for the honor of this award for press. We are over the moon. Phyllis and I are just ecstatic, and we're ecstatic because we're working with very good material. Our vision for press is focused on passion, and just like Creighton said, opportunity. We want to make sure that we give young lawyers and all lawyers interested in the topic of privacy and data security opportunities to learn and grow. So we have a four-pronged approach. The approach is focused on first, let's get these guys opportunities to write and be published and get visibility. So we have a young lawyers writing competition. Second, we're harnessing the very rich and fertile ground of the material that we're working with. So privacy, data security, every angle that you can think of, any and all is welcome. We're working with other section and ABA entities so that we can find opportunity to find those colleagues who are not just antitrust, but consumer protection, antitrust, international law, every angle, technology gurus and geeks, all welcome, all of the above. We also started a law school series. So we're not just staying put in our offices or even in our virtual offices, we're going where the young folk are. So we're trying to find them and meet them where they are and then encourage them, support them to grow, learn, and develop. Finally, we're taking our lead from them. We have established a young lawyers advisory panel, and we want to know what we don't know. And we can only do that by talking to them. Phyllis, you have been on the ground in one of these young lawyer panels that we've done. Maybe you can shed light on that and other issues that we're working on.
Absolutely, and it's been a really fun year. This is the first year that Dion and I have worked together as co-chairs, and I think we bring not only our background from the Federal Trade Commission, but a lot of fun energy to what we're doing. And I will say, like Creighton said, we've got an amazing set of vice chairs who are supporting us and, you know, kind of luminaries at the top of the privacy field. And Dion and I have roped them into doing all sorts of things. On the law school front, I attended one of our panels on top 10 reasons to be a privacy lawyer up at Temple Law School in Philadelphia in the fall, and the room was just packed. You can imagine that privacy is at the heart of many, many considerations in and out of this pandemic. We're kind of living it right now. But there were students who came not just from the Temple Law School community, but from around the Northeast, because they were attracted by the topic, stayed after, peppered us with questions, really wanted to know, how do I start? What is step 1, step 2, step 3? Our interest has continued with our inaugural privacy writing contest. We weren't sure what we would get this year. We thought we would be lucky to have a handful of submissions, and lo and behold, there were 18 essays that were submitted to us. We are pleased to announce that we have found ourselves a winner, kind of a gem among gems. And the winning submission will be announced soon. And it is, absolutely a knockdown, drag out, law school note quality article that I hope the broader section will be excited to read. And while the winning submission is not able to take full advantage of all of the prize, the aspects of the prize, because one of them was to come in person to our spring meeting, there is a lovely and hopefully helpful cash award that runs with it and a publication opportunity. And not just that, but we picked 2 additional honorable mentions. So we are trying to promote and publicize the absolute contributions of the younger set among us. I will also say one of the things that Pris is known for is collaborating with other sections or other committees within the section. Privacy touches a lot of the inquiries that the section gets, especially in the comment writing field. And so Dion has been out there along with other of our vice chairs in collaborating with the inquiries that are coming in fast and furiously on the international and domestic front. And we've got the big data task force and a cybersecurity task force. So we're hoping Pris is kind of proliferated. Our presence has proliferated throughout the section, and nobody's putting Pris in a corner.
That's really exciting. And I can't wait to read the winning essay and the others that you gathered. Well done. Last but definitely not least, we have Tony DiDomenico and Kaylin Brumbaugh, who are co-chairs of the Consumer Protection Committee. Now, you guys have had to build your membership from scratch, really, in the sense that there really was no existing base of potential members within the section when CP first got started. And added to that, as you've put in your challenges, your members really come from a diverse set of practice areas. They're not always coming from the same institutions. They have different backgrounds and experience. So all of that makes your achievements even more impressive. In particular, for me, the international network of consumer protection experts that you've built. Tell us about your engagement strategy and how can other committees learn from this?
Thanks, Fiona. We're so honored to win this award, and getting to go last and getting to hear what the other committee co-chairs have said. I'm struck by some of the similarities among our committees, and I think what have made us each successful. One thing in particular that struck me was the intentional diversity that we have among our vice chairs. Like other committees, we have multiple in-house counsel among our vice chairs. I'm in-house counsel as a co-chair. We have multiple international members among our vice chairs. Tony is in a private practice firm in Canada as one of our co-chairs. And we also have private practice lawyers as well as state enforcers and former state enforcers. So that's really given us the ability to reach out and draw in members across the spectrum of practice areas and types of practice. And I think that's really important. Phyllis mentioned the collaboration among committees. That has been critical to us. There are 3 primary consumer protection focused committees. There's the Consumer Protection Committee, which Tony and I co-chair, Pris with Phyllis and Dion. And then there's also the Advertising Disputes and Litigation Committee, which Dan Blinn chairs. And the 3 of us work very closely together. We collaborate on programs, collaborate on publications, and I think that's so important in reaching a wider area. And then finally, I want to mention our international focus, because that has been such a successful area of focus for us. And Tony has done a marvelous job in reaching out to a group of practitioners across the world that have added to our membership and our programming. And I want him to talk about that, and also talk about how we've developed young leaders in that area. Because one of the things I want to mention before I turn it over to Tony is that one of our current vice chairs started out as a YLR. She's a Canadian practitioner and has just been instrumental in developing our international outreach. And coming behind her is a new YLR who's also an international practitioner who's doing the same thing. So we've really tried to develop our leaders as well. So Tony, I'd love you to share about all that you're doing in the international area.
Well, thanks very much, Caitlin. And needless to say, we're very proud and honored to receive this award. With respect to the internationalization, as the section as a whole has a broader outreach strategy to reach out beyond domestic territories and try to galvanize people from around the world to invest in the section and for a section to invest in them. One part of that strategy has been trying to have various outreaches from CP that can tailor to and embrace that international audience. So we started out with the International Development Summary, which had a summary of CP developments from around the world, ranging from about 30 countries in one document that people can use as a snapshot to see what trends are going on globally in the area of CP. We're expanding that over time, and what we've done is had a lot of interdisciplinary programs from an international focus. So it's very common for us now to have programs where we take on an issue and say, what's the perspective of what's going on in Australia, Japan, and say parts of Europe. And so we've done that a fair bit. We've also had programming that's been very focused on particular jurisdictions. Tell us what's going on in France or in EU with respect to CP developments or whatnot. So that's really worked well in offering diverse sets of programs for our members, but it's also helped in reaching out to people who probably should be engaged with our section and probably don't know enough about it and now know more about that. And so down the road, we're also thinking about trying to develop some written publications that would tailor into that audience, whether by way of larger projects or just through newsletters that we've been working on. One thing that Caitlin touched on is that because of our interdisciplinary approach, we have publications that are both broad and specific. So we've got broader publications like What's in Store that can target all sorts of things, including international developments. But we've also got very specific ones that are focused on in-house or international developments. And so that's been another strategy we've used to try to engage a very fragmented CP audience and bring them together and offer them things that they see of value.
Thanks so much to both of you, and congratulations again. Well, this crisis we're all experiencing has brought up no shortage of challenges for all of us to navigate in our professional and personal lives. The virtual spring meeting, to me, is a wonderful example of not letting a good crisis go to waste. And I am so thrilled to see what we've achieved in 30 or so days in putting on an entire virtual spring meeting for the first time. Congratulations to all the organizers and participants. What are you and your committees doing? Can you tell us one thing, each of you? I think Gabrielle and Jody have already started with their the virtual sharing of virtual spring meeting programming. What are the rest of you doing to stay connected and innovate during this challenging time? I'll start with you, Creighton and Kim.
So one of the things that our committee is doing, sorry, Creighton, is we were asked by John Roberti and Danielle Hogland to be a member of their We're Social virtual spring meeting reception on April 28th at 3 p.m. Nice plug there for John and Danielle. I want them to recognize that. We're going to do a trivia on sports and antitrust law, hopefully not making it too focused on the antitrust side of it so that some people can get some answers. Creighton, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. Well, that was a great example. And in terms of one thing to say is that, you know, Kim and I, again, we've kind of been on this committee together for 5 years. We have a wonderful number of vice chairs and all doing different things. So we've really been focusing on how we can get our content to people, content that's interesting and one that new people can develop and post, but also how to get that content to out in a way that is, you know, susceptible to people really looking at it and seeing, oh, how can I dovetail off this? How can I write an article on this? How can we develop further some of these different areas that are popping up with sports, trade, professional associations, or really anything else? And quite frankly, as Kim said earlier, being as flexible as we can to saying, okay, you want to write about this, you want to talk about this, we're completely open to it, and we really welcome it.
Thank you. Dion and Phyllis, an innovation that you're currently developing?
Thank you, Fiona. So we're trying to implement practice what we preach, you might as well say. PRIS has turned around the US privacy focused panel that was scheduled for the spring meeting, and it's focused on the pandemic. It's focused on the pandemic and what are the privacy implications of the pandemic? And it has luminaries focusing, first of all, on the passionate vice chair of our committee, Chris Olson, has put together really what is a first-class thought leader group full of panelists, Manisha Mithal from the FTC, Jessica Rich, former bureau director, and other thinkers from EPIC and other teams. So it's going to be the marquee panel for the virtual spring meeting. I'm sorry, everybody else, I just had to brag about it. But listen, it also is very collaborative. You'll find that we're focused on working with other committees, just like Phyllis said, the legislative task force, the privacy task force. We have Gail there focused on trying to plug in, and we're also shining a light on what's going on in the Senate and looking at privacy legislation and tracking these issues. Never failing also, we're giving opportunity to our young lawyers by letting them have publications related to these issues. Phyllis, do you want to chime in there as well?
Sure. One thing that we hadn't mentioned previously, Deanna and I felt really strongly that our programming this year pushed beyond even traditional privacy programming. And so we hosted a discussion in the late winter with 2 researchers in the field of privacy and poverty. One was a law professor and one was a data researcher. Our program was entitled The Class Differential in Privacy Law. And so it's our intention after spring meeting wraps to bring back those researchers for a follow-up, because it is very clear that the disadvantaged among us are being disparately hit by the COVID pandemic, and not just health-wise, but a number of the economic issues are going to fall much more disproportionately on a set of our residents and citizens and participants in the U.S. economy. So we're looking forward ahead to when the economy opens, but we have to be very mindful that there are going to be people struggling with this for quite some time.
That's a really great point. I loved that program, and living in New York City, I'm seeing those issues unfold before my eyes. So thank you for continuing that really great work. And last, Tony and Kaylin, quickly, what is an innovation that you have been engaged in during the pandemic?
So it's a simple one, but we're going to abandon teleconferences. We meet by committee usually every month by phone, and seeing that the Zoom technology has been so terrific and engaging, we're going to abandon the telephone and really try to see our people at least once a month, since they're all over the world. The other thing that we're working on is trying to come up with some very strategic COVID-19 programming that can be very helpful for our members, both in the US and broadly. So we're working with ADL right now to putting a COVID-19 deceptive marketing program together. And we're thinking about perhaps putting a series together where we go beyond the US and try to find some international perspective to see if there could be some commonality in themes and how to deal with the approach both short, midterm, and long term.
That's fantastic. Well, I really appreciate all of you coming together virtually today. I will be awarding a bonus prize for the participant or viewer who identifies my cat going across the screen at what minute, and who identifies the children in the background. I can vouch that it was not me for once, but they sounded very cute. Thank you, everyone. I hope to see you all virtually at the virtual spring meeting cocktails, including the kickoff on Monday. And be well, continue to innovate. Thank you.